Hello everyone, welcome to the South Coast Reptiles YouTube channel. In this episode we're going to be going over a care guide for your leopard geckos. Right, so starting off, just some general information about your leopard geckos. Your leopard geckos are from the Middle East kind of region. So you're talking Pakistan, Afghanistan, some parts of India. That's where they're from. They're from like arid scrubland kind of environment. It's not like pure desert, it's not just on a sandy desert, but obviously like scrubland, dry arid grasslands, and that kind of environment is where you're going to find them in the wild. Also, their life expectancy, obviously these lizards can live for up to 15 years. They're quite a long-term commitment. Obviously they're not a short-lived pet like your hamsters and that. They are a long-lived pet, so if you treat them well, take care of them, they'll be a good pet for like up to 15 years. So they're quite a long investment in the long run. First thing we're going to start off with is your enclosures. Well, enclosures we got here for Lizzie is a Vivsotic vivarium. It measures out as 3 foot long by a foot deep and a foot tall as well, which obviously gives her about 3 square foot of foot space. Leopard geckos being terrestrial animals, they do require more floor space horizontally than they do vertically. They will climb on rocks and such things if given the option, but normally they will stick more to the ground level, so you can give them climbing opportunities if you want to. However, you can get away with just a foot tall or whatever you want to use for them really. Lizzie obviously is an adult leopard gecko. For smaller and younger leopard geckos, you can get starter kits such as the Habitat starter kit you can get from most reptile shops. These come with an enclosure like this one, which obviously them enclosures, they are starter kits, so they're more useful for their younger stages, obviously from baby up to young adult. But for an adult leopard gecko, we like to use the 3 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot because it just gives them more space to move around. So that's what we use here. Right. Moving on from enclosures, we're going to move on to lighting and heating. Here we use an Arcadia deep heat projector for Lizzie, a 50-watt one. We use this one to achieve around about a 30-31 degrees Celsius basking temperature in our basking spot, which is about 92 degrees Fahrenheit for you Americans out there. We also have a heater guard on the deep heat projector, which is just to prevent Lizzie from actually physically touching the projector and burning herself. We advise you keep your heater guards on all your heating applications just to save the risk of them touching it and burning themselves by accident. But moving on from your heat, also a controversial subject, do leopard geckos use UVB light? Some people say it has benefits, some say you don't really need it, but we like to provide it just to provide her with a more natural kind of light source in the wild. If they choose to go out during the day, they would be exposed to UVB, so we try to provide that here. Here we use an Arcadia T5 unit with an Arcadia Shade Dweller UVB bulb, which pumps out about between 6 to 7, it's rated at 6 to 7% UVB. This is the lowest setting, lowest strength one you can get from Arcadia for the T5 unit, and we find this is perfectly fine for her. Lizzie has no problems with this at all. In fact, when we first got her for her, she started to explore outside during the day more often, started to actually go underneath it and bask, such as being just in the light. So we find that has had benefits for her, but obviously it's not necessarily, 100% certain requirement, but it probably does have some benefits in the long run for your leopard geckos, just being exposed to that natural kind of light. Just side note on the temperatures, obviously during the day, the temperatures in your hot basking spot, as we said already, it's going to be about 30 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. During the night time in this room doesn't really go below 19 degrees Celsius at all during the night period at all. So we just turn all the lighting applications off, turn off the lights, the heaters, everything really at once. 12 hours on, 12 hours on. It's never dropped below that before, but if it does, the whole house is heated to at least 20 degrees. So that ain't an issue, because they can go down to something like 17, 16 degrees Celsius during the night time at the coldest points. They're perfectly fine with that because they had experience these in the wild anyway. So that's perfectly fine, perfectly adequate for them. Next thing I'm going to talk about is your humidity. Obviously, being a very arid species, their humidity is quite low, which can be quite a challenge in the UK, because obviously UK, rain, always have rain. But obviously you're aiming for a humidity level of about 20 to 40%. Sometimes this isn't possible to achieve if it's raining outside, or it's just not, the humidity levels outside are so much different than inside. Even us with a dehumidifier, it can be very difficult to achieve those very low states. So sometimes Lizzie's enclosure will bump up to like 45, 50 normally. Obviously after a spray, it's not dead in stone, don't have to be dead on this all the time. Obviously if you spray the tank, the humidity is going to jump up, jump down, as it would in the wild. Obviously humidity, first thing in the morning, bit of dew around, bit of moisture around, it'd be higher. As the day goes on, the humidity drops back down as the day, and it heats up and dries up the environment that they are in. So moving on to the diet of your leopard gecko, or your leopard geckos are insectivores. They eat purely insects for their food. There isn't no vegetables, no fruit, no nothing. It's literally just an insect-based diet. Obviously, what we've always been told is, and what we found, what we've done with Lizzie, when they're young, up to like young adult kind of age, we feed them every day several like appropriate size insects. So basically, if the insect is bigger than the gap in between their eyes, it's not suitable for them. So 4 or 5 suitably sized insects. What we found is Lizzie won't eat more than 3 or 4 in one go. So she'll eat them, and then she just will refuse any more food. So that's just, when they're full, they're full. But obviously, as an adult, you can move this on from every day to every 2 or 3 days, depending on how much leopard gecko wants to eat. But obviously, as adults, they just don't require as much energy because they're not growing as fast as they are during that young stage of their lives. Obviously, moving on from the dietary, obviously you've got supplementations. Leopard geckos all require supplementations in their diet. Luckily with leopard geckos, a neat treat you can do is you can put pure calcium without the D3 in a small dish inside their enclosure. And if they're a little bit deficient in calcium, they will lick at the calcium and eat it that way, so they absorb it that way. So it's quite good. It helps you keep on top of it. But obviously, when you dust your crickets, locusts, mealworms, whatever it is you're feeding them, obviously use calcium with D3. That's what we use with Lizzie. And that obviously is just giving that supplementation that they need, because obviously what your insects are providing them aren't the exact same again in the wild. They need that little extra bit of supplementation just to keep their health up to date and keep themselves happy and all healthy and that. Another thing that's quite debated in the leopard keeping hobby is, do they require a water bowl? With Lizzie, we always keep a water bowl in her cage. We replace the water every 1 to 2 days, or if she soils her water, we'll change it straight away. Obviously, some people say you don't need to do this. Some people say just misting every day, misting every morning is more than sufficient. We do mist Lizzie every couple of days, and then also obviously keep her with a water bowl in her enclosure anyway. So she has that option. If she decided to use it, she can use it if she wants to. And obviously we do the spray to simulate the whole morning dew, high humidity levels to help her with shedding and other things like that. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk about in this video is your handling. Because obviously, as a reptile keeper, you're going to want to handle your pets. It's one of the coolest things you can do with a leopard gecko or any kind of reptile pet. Obviously, with the leopard geckos, they're not as robust as some of your larger reptiles. For example, things like your bearded dragons, blue-tongued skinks, and other harder-bodied lizards and reptiles. But obviously, a leopard gecko, when you feel them, you'll notice they have quite a soft, delicate skin about them, and they've got quite a soft and delicate body. So obviously, with a leopard gecko, you wouldn't so much grasp a leopard gecko, but you'd just hold them gently like this and just let them move on you and just provide them the support they need. For example, there, Lizzie's quite content just to sit there and just chill out on my hand as such. But obviously, to move them around, obviously just give them a rough direction to walk in. She's just being very lazy, like, really, like, she's just resting her head on me. But like, give them direction and they will follow it. A quick tip, if your leopard gecko is starting to get a bit away from you, for example, she's trying to escape with you, a thing you can do is place your hand flat against their head. It's like what I'm doing with Lizzie now. And that'll stop them in their tracks. The only thing they might do is they might try to climb on top of the hand. But if they're travelling quite quickly, you want to slow them down. It's just a method you can use to slow them down. Obviously, if you're starting to lose control, just put your hand in front of them and they'll just stop moving, because obviously you've blocked their path. Then obviously they'll move along like so. So handling them, it's all about just being gentle with them. I wouldn't trust a very small child with this. Maybe like older children, maybe like 6 years plus, because obviously they can understand a bit more of your instructions on how to be delicate with them. But handling leopard geckos just literally is as simple as pick them up and just be gentle with them. Don't squeeze them, absolutely do not squeeze them. And then just let them relax on your hand and let them choose where they want to go, and then you'll be perfectly fine. Hey Lizzie. You can see she's perfectly happy just chilling out on my hand and my arm, just content as anything. But that will be it from our episode today on this leopard gecko care guide. I hope it has been helpful to you who are watching it. And we will see you in the next video, won't we, Lizzie? So, bye-bye.